From Daylight Interactive, this is Stories for You. I'm your host, Kazuki Akiba. This is a show where I talk with different individuals ranging from artists to entrepreneurs about their journey of where they began, where they went, and where they are now. In LA, and I brought in my friend, cinematographer, concert photographer Toda here today, and we're gonna get started from here. So cool. It's been almost 2 years or so?
Yeah.
This week's guest is cinematographer and concert photographer Toda, an LA native born into a family of actors and musicians. Tim has been surrounded by the entertainment industry since birth. We got to know each other while both attending New York University's Tisch program. We worked on projects together and sat in many of the same classes, but I've never really gotten to know him as a person, so that's what we're here to do today. So here it is, my conversation with Toda.
I think NYU was like my love. I guess maybe it was because it was in New York too, but I was like, oh my gosh, New York is amazing. And I applied, and I think that was literally the last acceptance letter I got. And I remember vividly when I got that letter because I was in my room and I got the email first off before, you get the package of acceptance or whatever. And I ran out. I screamed at the top of my lungs and ran to my dad and picked him up and carried him around the house because I was so happy. But yeah, I mean, born and raised in LA, and now I'm back here.
So I wanted to kind of dive more into that. I understand that your father is an actor and your mom also does something similar in entertainment.
Yeah.
So can you tell me that moment where that intrigued you to start taking photos and videos? Because I think at an early age, I know that you were doing a lot of these.
Yeah. So I think it was never a conscious thing. I think it was a subconscious thing where I guess my dad would sometimes take me to auditions just because I was small, and I don't know, I think he kind of wanted me to act a little bit, but he would take me to auditions and I really didn't think much of that, and I was so shy, so it just never really worked out. But he always had a camera, and he had a Nikon D3000, something like that, an old, well, I mean it's older now, but new at the time, and I started to take photos with it, and then I used my dad's VHS cameras and would just basically film everything. And I had my first computer in middle school, which was a MacBook, the white one with those separated keys. And I don't know, it was awesome because it had a webcam and everything. And it had iMovie HD. And so I would take videos, import them and edit them and make music videos on my own and stuff like that. But, yeah, I never really thought I would, I guess, get into the entertainment industry because I've always been surrounded by tech. So I wanted to ultimately become a computer programmer back in the day.
And then did that, I know from that, what led you to start YouTube on that? And,
oh, yeah.
And when did you start seeing the following for that? Can you tell me the backstory for that?
That's all with the MacBook. So when the MacBook came on my first laptop, I was like, technology is so cool and Apple was so cool. So I started making videos on my webcam. YouTube was starting around that time. So I would take my camera and start recording, and tech videos were kind of a thing. It was starting out. Obviously YouTube as a whole was completely new. So I just started making videos about tech and Apple stuff. So my channel is still, it's still up. It's called The Apple Freak.
Hey, what is up, guys? So I get this question pretty frequently, and it's, should you get the MacBook Air or should you get the MacBook Pro? And I'm here to answer that right here and right now. So an obvious difference is the processing power behind the computer. So the base model MacBook Air 13-inch comes with a 1.4 gigahertz dual-core processor, Intel Core i5.
It's so lame, but I was so into Apple that I felt like that was the right, username, I guess. And I made a lot of videos about that. And until now, I think I have 17,000 subscribers, which was still, it's huge back in, 2007, 2008, 2009. I think that was, during middle school, I would make money from AdSense through YouTube, and it was like the coolest thing. But yeah, it was always surrounded by tech. And that's when I was like, oh, I want to get into MIT. I want to be a computer programmer.
He continued to do tech reviews throughout high school, amassing a loyal following and finding new friends within the community of tech reviewers on YouTube. Slowly, however, his attention turned to film instead, starting with his first camera, which was his digital single lens reflex, or DSLR, used to shoot B-roll, supplemental, or alternative footage intercut with the main shot. Started to get these communities together, right, and grow these audience base. How has that impacted you to eventually become the YouTube partner and personality during that time?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was just persistence. The audience was just accumulating slowly but surely, and at that point, I was making videos for 3 or 4 years. So it was not an overnight thing. It was I never had like a viral video. I just made videos of what I wanted to do because I love to just shoot stuff. I mean, I still have videos of like me taking a video camera through Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios.
What is it? A tumor?
TV from the popular culture of 2009.
Goes through like the maze and like getting my reactions and getting just the whole ambiance of it, and that's like one of the most viewed videos on my channel.
Just you being scared of
yeah. It has I don't remember, maybe like that was probably like 100K, but I have like I definitely have bigger videos on that channel.
But can you tell me, like, I know that there was a film festival you participated back in high school, and how has that impacted your path into photography and eventually cinematography? Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, for sure. So in English class in 9th grade, we would have, as our final, we would have to make a film, and it was just for English class. And she did this for 9th and 10th grade because those are the only years that we actually were able to have her. But 9th grade, we would have to, I think it rotated themes every year, but for that year, it was adapting a poem. So my dad had a camera, and we had a pretty cool, I guess, group. And I don't remember what poem it was, but I remember it being completely terrible, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I just used my dad's VHS recorder, essentially. It was like, no, it wasn't VHS. It was a tape, like, camera, but we used that to film the whole thing, and I was always behind the camera, and it was, I don't know, I think after that I was like, this is so much fun. And then the following year I got my first camera, which is a Canon 7D DSLR. Awesome camera. And then we made, so that 10th grade year we had to make a documentary, and we chose to do it on food trucks because it was also starting, around that time it was gaining popularity. So we would go out to food truck festivals, we would go out to local food trucks and interview people and use my 70 for that. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. And in high school, we also had like a TV show every Friday called KCAV. It was Cavaliers, Cleveland Cavaliers. It's called KCAV. And we would always make segments. We had like a TriCaster. We had a whole broadcast system that was broadcasting every like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. or something through all the classes if the teachers chose to let us watch it. But yeah, I was part of that class because I wanted to expand my creativity in filmmaking, and we would make B-roll footage that would kind of be like an ad for clubs or sports teams. And that was kind of, what I did for all of high school since we shot those films for our finals in English class.
But what was like so addicting about, shooting videos and shooting photos for people?
Yeah, I think it's just making pretty images for me. It was just a lot of fun. I was just interpreting how I saw the world and just posting it to people. And I think I still post videos on my YouTube about that. It was just, I would go on family trips, bring my Canon 7D and shoot everything because I thought everything looked pretty, and I felt like I could tell a story through just the images that I shoot. And eventually, I think going to NYU, I was like, okay, this is not just pointing a camera at something and making it look pretty. It's about story and knowing how to work with people around you. Like it's so much about collaboration, and that kind of just, going to school really opened my mind about how I can expand and like improve on my craft while working with other people.
And around during this time when you were in school, especially during film school, you were doing a lot of concert photography.
Yeah.
So how did you get started into that?
Yeah. It all started because I just wanted to go to concerts for free because I was a broke college student. Like straight up, I saw these, concerts, and New York being New York, there's always concerts happening there. There's so many bands that go through there. And I was like, I can't keep up. I can't, I had my first credit card going into college, and I was using that and I was maxing it out. And I was like, I can't pay this off. Like I even called my dad. I was like, I can't pay my dues. And he's like, just go figure it out. And I had to, work my way to pay that off. But it was ultimately just me having a camera. I had a Canon 60 then, I upgraded, and I just wanted to take photos of bands. And I saw a photographer in during a concert. I would go to concerts by myself, and I would see these photographers in the photo pit up front, up stage. And I was like, whoa, how do you do that? And so I kind of looked into it, and I eventually made a blog for myself to use as a publication to, I guess, shoot bands, even, whether that's local or just really small bands coming through New York. And building that portfolio, I eventually started to shoot for bigger publications and kind of snowballed from there. And I would just go to concerts for free because I had a camera and I could shoot photos.
Tim's photos resonated with a lot of people, and he eventually shot his first big world tour in 2017. And how that was, you'll find out after these words from our sponsors.
Hi, my name is Anna Marie Calisi, and I am the writer and star of A Different Kind of Animal. A Different Kind of Animal is about a New York City dog walker turned vigilante when she realizes one of her clients, a dog, may be in trouble. I graduated from NYU in 2017, and I've done numerous projects since then, including Emery Parker's The Perfect Fit and an episode of Investigation Discovery's Grave Mysteries. I'm really excited to team up with Blue Slate Films for this production. I've worked with them previously on The Perfect Fit, and Emery and Natalia are absolutely amazing. Together, their work has been to over 50 festivals internationally. We're really excited to have Robert Capron on board, who's known for A Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Elementary, and The Polka King.
Hey guys, my name is Robert Capron, and I'm one of the attached cast members of A Different Kind of Animal. Thank you so much for being willing to check this out. I've read the script, I'm a really big fan of it. I've been fortunate enough to work on a couple movies and TV episodes before, but this will actually be my first short, so with help of your guys' support, we're going to make a really awesome thing.
This film has been really important to me because it comes from my own personal experience. I work as a dog walker as well in the city, and I'm very passionate about dogs. I have a rescue dog named Gamble who's going to be in the film. He was rescued from a high-kill shelter and brought up to New York by Pupstar Rescue, which I'm very grateful for. I think it's really important for animals to have a home where they feel loved and cared for, and I hope this film sheds a light on that. If you can't donate, please make sure to share. Thank you!
Welcome back to Stories for You and my conversation with Tim Toda. When we left off, Tim started diving into the world of concert photography. It wasn't an easy path, but it eventually led to Tim going on a tour. From the start of it, how did people start noticing about your photography, concert photography during that time?
Yeah, so I feel like for me, it took maybe a year of shooting all the time. I just shot for really small publications, and still with my publication too, I would try to make interviews happen and build a portfolio through that. There's also a really amazing community in New York with concert photographers. So I kind of fell into that group, and everyone supported each other. And I think the first time that someone really took a chance on me, the first paid gig was literally my first tour. So all that time that I've been shooting concerts for publications, I never got paid. That's all just for the fact that I loved taking photos and I loved going to concerts. And crazy thing is most, if like the majority of the people who are taking photos for concerts or like during concerts, they're probably not getting paid. So it's all, I mean, if you're shooting for something like Rolling Stone or Consequence of Sound or Stereogum, I don't know, these big publications who send out assignments, they'll probably pay you, but they probably pay really little.
What do you think that is like that? They don't want to pay for these.
Yeah, I think it's just, they don't, I think they don't think it's that important. Most of the time, people who pay are, you'd have to go through the band because the band ultimately needs them for their social media, for tour posters or any kind of promotional material, whether that's their social or, their profile picture or anything really. So I kind of figured out that was probably the best way that I can go about getting paid and doing what I love doing. And yeah, I think the first band that really took a chance on me was Oh Wonder.
Could you tell me about that experience and what were like some of the memorable moments during that time working with Oh Wonder?
Yeah, so that relationship took a year of cultivating that because I loved their music. So I would reach out to their management or a publication and shoot photos of them. And eventually they saw my work and took a liking and we kind of met up. And crazy thing is, after I graduated in December 2016, they had a show, I think in November 2016, and it was at Terminal 5, it was their biggest show, and they said they were going to be at Coachella next year. Like, maybe you can come. It was kind of like, I really just brushed it off. I was like, nothing's really going to happen. And then I went to Europe in February with my friend, and literally on my birthday, I remember this vividly too. On my birthday, we were in Rome in our hostel room, and I got an email from them saying like, hey, we're going on tour around the West Coast doing Coachella. Like, do you want to come? I was like, hell yeah. And I remember jumping 6 foot off the ground and hugging Grant, and I was ecstatic. Again, it was like one of those moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this is a tour. And so I did that for a week, and that was really fun because Coachella is awesome. If you have an artist pass, you can literally go anywhere, and catering was great. Food was great. And that was my first paid gig. And yeah, and then at the end of that, they actually asked me to shoot a small music video because they knew I had a film background. And that was a cool experience. It was a really small promo music video for one of their singles called My Friends. And after that, we finished editing that in their hotel room in LA. We ended up in LA. And then they're like, hey, we're touring across the world. Like, we're going to Europe and all over America. Would you want to come? We're doing this in the fall. It's about 3 months. I was like, yes. And yeah, and then kind of that was everything. I owe it to them for all the experiences. I went to Amsterdam, went to Italy. I really went everywhere in Europe. And that was also one of the most stressful times of my life because you're with people for 24 hours, 24/7, for about 3 straight months, and taking care of yourself, whether that's your mental health or your physical health, it took a big toll on me, and I felt like I couldn't really tour again after that. But it was an amazing experience nonetheless.
Tim has since done a tour with bands Mr. Wives and HONNE, and is gearing up for a world tour with the latter.
Those opportunities kind of came from one referral from a photographer friend who also toured around the same time. He toured with Hoodie Allen at the time when I was touring with Oh Wonder. And he referred me. And I also worked with Mr. Wives when I was in NYU as a PA for their music video, actually. So they kind of knew me. And so I guess they took a chance on me again. And that worked out really well. So we were all really good friends. And then I also went on another tour with a band called HONNE, which they opened up for Oh Wonder when we had the Coachella run. So they remember me from there, which is kind of insane. And they reached out to me a few months ago for a really quick tour.
Location unknown, trying to find a way back home to you again. I gotta get back to you.
across the U.S. But yeah, they're all usually connected in some way, some referral or just, from working with other bands and knowing that I have some credibility behind my work.
Mm-hmm. So working with these different bands, obviously it's a lot of different genres and different personality. What did you learn from working with these bands? Like, how did you cope with that?
Yeah. So Mr. Wives is a huge, I wouldn't say they're big party people, but their stage presence is so different from Oh Wonder, where it's only 2 people. Four technically, with 2 additional backing members on stage, but they're kind of limited in terms of movement. Mr. Wives is like a pop funk soul band. So they run around the stage, and that kind of personality also translates to them as people. So it was a lot of fun just to be around with them. And for HONNE, that was also another different one because like HONNE and Oh Wonder are both British bands. And so culturally, I feel like, I guess the humor is a little different. The way that they talk is different. So I had to learn how to deal with sarcasm as a way of humor, and which is something I admire a lot, because sometimes like you see people being sarcastic and you can't, like, for me, it was really hard for me initially for Oh Wonder's tour because they were very sarcastic people, and sometimes I'd take it seriously and they would make fun of me for that. But with HONNE, they were a lot more chill. They're I don't know. It's just everyone's a little different. Every camp's a little different, the way that they function. And I think I love working with every single one of those people that I've worked with. Like if any of those bands asked me to tour again, I would probably do it in a second.
I think it's kind of interesting to see someone, who's really coming from a similar background, but yet do all these type of experiences. What do you think these type of experiences kind of opened up for you, and how does it enhance you to do other works because of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, because initially I wanted to be a DP. I still do. But I think it's just that my hobby, my passion, also like my other passion, I guess, kind of took off before me being a DP did. So I just, as a fresh graduate, I just immediately jumped on that opportunity because, like, who else wouldn't take that opportunity to be able to tour with a band all over the world and experience life in that way? And so my hobby as a concert photographer became a profession kind of purely on luck, in my opinion. And I think I just took that opportunity because I would make connections in the music industry to eventually translate to that as a DP or as a filmmaker, because, you get really close with these people, and I really want to gain their trust to hopefully make, something like a music video, which kind of happened with Oh Wonder, after a week of traveling with them, which is crazy. And yeah, so I think because being a filmmaker or being a DP or being anyone in this industry has so many different paths to becoming what they want. And I think the way that I'm approaching it is obviously not conventional. I don't think any route really is conventional to becoming a director or DP or anyone. But I think this was the best way for me to not only make connections, but to, I obviously I need money from graduating from NYU, but also just having fun and experiencing life when I can at this age. I think touring definitely takes a toll on your body, and it shows. Everyone kind of feels jaded sometimes. Everyone wants to be home and relaxed, but I think for me to tour is an amazing opportunity that can also enhance me to become a better filmmaker, because I get to experience life outside of my little bubble that I had at New York or LA. Yeah, being an Asian in this industry, it's definitely different. I've noticed really, more often than not in this past year, I'm like, okay, I'm the only Asian in this crew. There's not a lot of people of color or minorities, which is crazy, but I guess it's kind of understandable. the film industry is still predominantly white, but these past maybe like 6 months or so, it's been pretty inspiring to see so many people starting to create and stepping up and making their voices heard. But I think as a concert photographer, even all of my friends in the community, I only know like maybe 1 or 2 other Asians. But it didn't really hinder my ability to do my job. I think because they saw my work, for what I am, they didn't really look at me and like, no one's judgmental in that sense. But they just looked at my work and they took a chance on me. And I think I respect that. Like I'm glad that I'm known for my work rather than me being an Asian photographer, like an Asian filmmaker or anything like that,
No, that's really understandable. And now I'm working on, Daylight Interactive on the side, focusing on these multicultural stories. But there's something I really struggle with, to be personal with you. I struggle with creating that, unique personality. And from you've done so many different things to present yourself in the media space. So, because you're a YouTube personality and now you're a social media influencer through like myriad of photography work. And I was wondering, what are some things that are important to captivating these audiences?
Yeah, I guess it's just being true to yourself. There's no other. I think as a person have your own voice, no matter who you are. As long as you stay true to that, I think you will eventually find an audience or at least captivate a few people. And I think I just never really looked at anyone else's work. I mean, I look up to people for some inspiration, but I've ultimately just shot and edited the way that I would, looking at these photos and looking at these personalities on, performing in front of me, whether that's for music or whether that's for performance and acting. It's all just my voice.
Mm-hmm. I think, but how do you try to make yourself stand out from your end? Like, how did you do that?
I don't know. I don't think I honestly, I don't think I have like stood out of all the people. I think it's just the fact that I was one of the few people that just persevered. Like I just kept going at it, and it got to a point where some big band was able to look at my work and say, hey, this is pretty dope. Like, we want to hire you for what you do. So I don't necessarily think like I put an effort to make myself stand apart from people. I just wanted to make cool stuff that I think that, I think is cool, and share that with people and hope that resonates with someone else.
No, that's kind of cool, inspiring and cool to hear. And so what's in the future for you now that, you've been working on a lot of these, and obviously you have more music video and film work as well. Like, what kind of impact do you hope to have on future generations?
Yeah, so I think right now I'm in a moment where I'm pivoting away from concert photography. I'm more focusing on DP work and shooting films and documentaries. Like I shot a feature documentary earlier this year for 4 months. That was also technically another tour. We were in a van going cross country all over the US during the winter. We even went to Hawaii to shoot some stuff. But I think like that was on the subject of the fight for gender, race, and class equity through the history of ultimate frisbee, which is kind of, it's very niche, but I think it tells a very important story and in perspective on, being inclusive with everyone, like using, I guess, ultimate frisbee as a platform, but talking with so many people of color, transgender folks, people who identify themselves as like non-binary, or just people who are who grew up in very low social class. And I think it was really inspiring. And I felt like after that documentary shoot, I wanted to start, I guess, working on projects that really have an impact on human, I guess, interaction and just humanity in general. Like I eventually want to shoot documentaries or just short films through like companies like WWF or like Patagonia, who really do their best to make the world a better place. So I think, right now I'm still pivoting, obviously, and I think I'm still consider myself an amateur in terms of like a DP, just because I haven't shot a lot of things since I graduated, and it's mainly concentrated on concert photography. But that's, I think, eventually where I want to be, where I could shoot like, I guess even branding content or anything that really inspires people to do better for the world.
Mm-hmm. And now, you don't recognize yourself as like this class cinematographer, but being a worldwide photographer and up and coming cinematographer, what are some messages you want to tell to these aspiring individuals who wants to be just like you?
Yeah, I think just be persistent with your work, and even if you're starting out, like everyone, like I look back on my work, and they're still up on YouTube, by the way, if you want to take a look at it. But you'll look at that stuff and be like, oh my gosh, he really didn't know what he was doing. Like he's just literally pointing a camera at something and thinks that it's really pretty, but like it just comes with experience on how you shoot and how you view the world, and just keep shooting, just keep persevering. If you want to be a concert photographer, just find a publication, make your own publication. That's what I did, and start shooting and reaching out to bands, and whether that's local or even just smaller bands that are coming through your town. And yeah, like even as a DP, I think I've been cold emailing a lot of people. I've met up with a lot of young directors who are just starting out as well, and being like, hey, like I'm a DP, you're a director, let's just go out and shoot something, whether that's a spec commercial or something that's just, on your mind. I just want to keep creating. So I think it's just being really persistent with your goal. If you're really passionate about it, you will eventually find a way to make a career out of it. So I know that being a DP in this, in the film industry is it's a lifelong, I guess, investment. So as much as I want to be in a place where I see a lot of peers who are like maybe 10 years older than me, I want to be there, obviously, but I know that it takes a long time to get to where they are because they've been doing it for a really long time. So yeah, I think ultimately just keep pushing for all the things that you're doing and that you want to be doing. And I think you'll eventually find a voice and a place for you in the world.
Mm-hmm. And, because you're a storyteller using, the lens through the landscape, why storytelling through a lens of a camera is so important to you, and what kind of impact do you think it brings to different communities today?
Yeah, I think visually that is one of the, it's kind of like music. It's such a universal language. So no matter who watches it, I think people will understand even if they don't know the language. And I think for me, I'm just a very visual person, even growing up. That's why I had a camera with me at all times. Right now, it's not like I have a dedicated point and shoot camera on me all the time, but I always have my iPhone. So if there's something that intrigues me, I will always take a photo of it. And yeah, I think because I see everything in such a visual way, it's just easier for me to translate how I feel through a lens. And I think eventually, yeah, I wanted to tell stories that hopefully impact a community of people and make the world a better place.
Thank you for listening to the episode with cinematographer and photographer Tim Toda. If you want to learn more about his work, please check out the link below. This is a Daylight Interactive production. This show is hosted by me, Kazuki Akiba. This week's episode is produced by me and Ree Yerman. Additional dialogue written by Tiffany Koo and Nicole Bernardo. Edited by me and Nicole Bernardo. Kari Johnson and Grey Laptop mixed the episode. And music by Grey Laptop. If you are enjoying Stories for You, leave us a review and tell your friends. Thanks again for listening. Join us next time on Stories for You as we focus on exciting new voices.